Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today I have the privilege of speaking to the proprietor and pit master of the Smoking Swine. Please welcome Drew Pumphrey. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you.
So I want to get into the swine. No, I want to get into the vital stats. And in that, describe your background, your food, things like that, and kind of any training or anything along those lines that you had, because I don't know what that looks like in that pitmaster capacity. I don't know if it was a lot of white, coats like your chef whites or anything, but yeah, give us the rundown.
To be completely honest with you, man, I don't have much of a culinary background, not professionally anyway. I'm a big boy, so, I like to cook. I like to eat the whole thing. But yeah, like prior to opening my own business, my actual kitchen experience in like a real legitimate kitchen, not like, when you're 15 working Burger King, but it was limited to about 2 weeks of experience over 10 years before I started the truck. Oh, wow. So yeah, so it was a little crazy. But yeah, it's just one of those things where the reason that I am where I am is if you hate a job that you have enough, and you get to a point low enough to where you don't care if you lose everything, you can take really awesome and fun risks. So I was just like, you know what? I looked at it through the lens of older people that came before me, and not just barbecue people. Like when I say that, I mean like people that own a corner store or people that own a drugstore, like think about all these delis in New York or New Jersey or even in Baltimore that somebody opened it and they didn't know jack shit about, they didn't have a focus group. They didn't have the Culinary Institute of America. They just knew what they were doing. Yeah. And they put their shingle out and it just worked. So yeah, my training is like zero, to be honest with you. Like a lot of YouTube University, a lot of late night calls to Franklin Barbecue, like back in the day when Aaron Franklin was actually working there. And like me being like, hey, I called last week about a brisket I'm cooking, right? And just getting advice. Luckily it's a very inclusionary society that we have in barbecue. So people, it's not competitive. I don't think really at all. Everybody wants to see everybody else do well.
So almost there's an Ed Neumeyer of barbecue kind of approach there. It's like, I hate my job. I'm going to write RoboCop. I don't like this job. Let me barbecue.
Well, it was, and I've been deeply affected by the works of Mike Judge. When I first moved to Fells Point, I didn't have cable, and I had a house that was run for it, but I had a VCR and I had the videotape for Office Space. Yeah. So I hooked the VCR into the cable system for the whole house. So every TV would have whatever was in the VCR. So like if you're having a lady friend over at night, she's not going to notice that you're poor as hell. She's just like, oh man, you're watching Office,
Wow. So is it every row? Great. This is amazing. It's like integrated, man.
Exactly. Oh, this is like the theatrical version. What channel is this?
Channel Betamax.
Exactly. So, but I was exposed to that show like literally on a constant loop for a year, and it kind of spoke to me because I worked in engineering. Like I worked in civil engineering for years. I was a surveyor. I was an engineer's assistant, designer, and it was the same thing Peter Griffin was, or not Peter Griffin, but it was the same thing that Peter was in that movie. And he just hated it. And I felt the same way. Yeah. It was just like, it just isn't me. I mean, I looked like this when I was an engineer. I had tattooed hands and, tattoos creeping out of my collar line and stuff. And I just didn't fit in. I could do the work. I could do all that stuff, but it just didn't resonate with me in a way like food did. And, when you get to a point where you just don't care, you're like, man, okay, I lost my job and I had to pick up this crappy job at Sears because the housing market tanked and they treat me like an animal there. Like it's literally the worst job I've ever had in my life. So I didn't care.
So that's almost that fuel. Like I think when I think there's a few different fuels that we have, right? We have premium unleaded. No, we have being mad about whatever you're doing, or just being like despondent. Like, I'm not interested in this. I don't care about this. And I think in either of the fuels, whatever those motivations may be, they're enough to say, you know what, you might want to look elsewhere. You might want to look into something else, like go after your passion and take that leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the biggest things that gave me the push to really do it, I'm one of those people that I talk things into existence. Yeah. Like in a lot of people, I feel like there's very few of those people out there in the world. I feel like people don't get me with it. They think that I'm bullshitting and that I'm like just blowing hot air and stuff. And I'm like, no, like I'm talking about this because I want it to materialize. I want it to be in my head something that cannot not happen. Yeah. You know, you talk about it so much that you almost will it into being. And I was in that kind of stage, and I had a good friend at the time that was helping me out. But I came to find out that, like, literally as soon as I turned my back, he was like, he's going to fail. Yeah. He shouldn't be doing it. And he's telling this to like my peers, like my other friends, you know? And it was just like, at that point I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to let it take its course. And then as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, like, fuck you. I'm dropping the hammer. I'm going to make this plan happen now. Yeah. You know, I called up every resource I had and I made it happen within like 6 weeks of that whole conversation. And like my motor for a very, very long time ran literally on spite alone. That was like an alcohol fueled drag car. Just getting shit done and kicking ass. Now I'm a little more of a plug-in hybrid. I'm kind of cruising.
Yeah, I mean, I run into that on occasion where it's this, it's almost a spot where you're trying to justify where you fit sometimes, or at least you may not have to, but you may feel that for whatever reason. Like, am I an artist? Do I deserve to be in the scene? Do I deserve to be talking to some of the people that I talk to? And when I'm at my max, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm me. And then when I'm at not my max, it's like, I got to really draw from this energy. Let me listen to an old episode to tell how good I was to come back to this new one.
Yeah. I mean, you certainly can find yourself wading into deep water sometimes. Yeah. And, you know, you maybe find yourself out there and forget how to swim from time to time. You know, it's hard, especially for creatives, for people like you and myself. Like, you know, like I don't do a public podcast, but if you ever come to see me at my restaurant or on my food truck, I've always told people it's dinner and a show. Yeah. Like, you can make millions off of taping me and putting it on YouTube or something, just because it's, you know, I feel like it's my responsibility to entertain and make people feel at home and comfortable, you know, and I'll do it any way I can. You know, I'll self-deprecate. I'll make fun of the next guy in line. I'll do, you know, like whatever it takes to make the person feel like they're welcome, because I know what I look like. I know the image that I present, and it's not very approachable. You know, it's, you know, if you run into me out in the world, then yes, like I will give you a bear hug and, you know, we'll be best friends by the end of the conversation. Yeah. But getting people to initiate the conversation is the hard part. So.
As a 6'4", 310-pound black man, I know what you mean. So real quick, because I think I kind of skipped over it. And in a sentence, and it may be a challenge. Give the fine folks who are uninitiated, undipped, what your food is, what your food's about. We've touched on it being barbecue, but I know everyone has a description. It's like, this is low and slow and blah, blah, blah. But give us that.
Yeah. Mine is a regional celebration of American traditional barbecue. It's a celebration of the culture behind it. It's an open door into the person that I am. I don't focus on any one specific thing. I mean, I think I do some things better than others, but I do everything well, that I put out there for people to consume. But yeah, it's really just about sending that message of inclusivity and letting people know that this is for everybody. Like, there's nobody that's not welcome at my table, as long as you're cool and you can, and I don't mean cool as in the sense of like you're a real fucking hip dude,
I was about to grab my Wayfarers.
Like you're cool in the fact that you can just respect other people and you can just, just be nice. Yeah. Like that should really be the word, nice, instead of cool.
There's a wrestling thing that I follow and it says, just don't be a dick. It's literally, that's what the disclaimer is when you start off watching it. Just don't be a dick.
It's the truth. I mean, it seems like a stretch for a lot of people these days. But yeah, we're really just about the food. There's no bullshit. Mm-hmm. There's no pretense. And I think that is a benefit that I have of not having a traditional culinary school education. I'm not married to all the ideas of what it's supposed to be. Yeah. I always think there's couple years back, Daft Punk, one of my very favorite bands in the world, they released their Random Access Memories, and it's basically music over a monologue by Giorgio Moroder. Yeah. And he talks about his lack of training and his lack of technical knowledge in the music industry and what things were supposed to be. Yeah. So when you throw out everything that you're supposed to do, mm-hmm. and you start from doing what you want to do and what you like to do, I think that you wind up with a huge advantage over people that have a very rigid structure as to what they think needs to happen.
Totally. So I went over your menu. I'm skipping ahead a little bit because I'm going to go back into, because I don't want to leave this point. So I read over your menu, and obviously, and you've touched on it, that your menu pays homage to various styles of barbecue, and I'm getting that that's an intentional move. Do you have a favorite style that you prefer to eat over one, or what is like one that kind of pops for you? It's like, I really like that one because I'm really into vinegar, or I'm really into that dry rub. So what is that for you?
To me, it's the Eastern Carolina vinegar style. It's the style that's closest to my heart, just because I spent many summers in coastal Carolina and going down to the Outer Banks and stuff like that, and Kill Devil Hills and Kitty Hawk. Yeah, exactly, man. You're in the Outer Banks. Your barbecue's life down there, man. This stuff is ridiculous. And I was lucky enough to after going there a couple times a year, and year after year after year with my folks, and then with like my family and everything, you create relationships with these people, and they teach you little things here and there. And like, I wouldn't say I have any type of formal education in it, but I have a lot of hours of bullshitting over Bud Light. Yeah. And so yeah, I think it's just my favorite also because there is a vinegar tradition on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Mm-hmm. It's not very popular. It's not very well known. My friend Scott from Big Bad Wolf Barbecue, he knows a lot about it. He grew up in that culture. He kind of taught me about it, and I, kind of sought it out, and found out that it was pretty awesome. So yeah, the whole vinegar style thing is my deal. Yeah.
I think sometimes when you're able to have either the resources or the access to really experiment, and that's what I'm kind of gathering from your on the job kind of like development or what have you. It's like, I'm doing it and I'm learning it as I do it. Like, oh, that works for this, and I'm going to take my own notes. I'm going to figure this out on my own. And, kind of get those resources. And I've run into it. Like, I've done the smoking thing for probably like the last year and change. Like, I got one of those Traeger joints, and I was like, all right. And I've run into a butcher shop. So we have this, my girlfriend and I have this big ass, like 90-pound sheeperdoodle. And I was like, I'm going to get a damn leg, like a cow leg, and smoke it for this dog. And he's going to be my best friend. And that's the move. That's the move. And it's just like, out of just experimenting and just playing with it and having that confidence that, oh, something that is not necessarily for me, but it's like, I know that I can do that based on just those hours of being around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good thing about, barbecue is that it's pretty universal. Mm-hmm. It's just it's a style applied to really any food. So, if you want to do, especially with smoking, mm-hmm. you want to smoke something, easy, just do it. Like, throw that shit in there, get the smoke rolling, throw whatever you want in there and give it a shot. Who knows? It might work, it might not, but the fun is in the process. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
And I feel like the process is accessible, and it's even more accessible now. Like Traeger's come out and they have like the pellet grills and stuff. Like pellet grills, up until maybe 5 years ago, they were like an industry only thing. Like there wasn't a consumer level pellet grill available anywhere.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh, whoa, this makes it totally easy.
Yeah.
Like anybody can do it. Yeah.
I mean, like, I think like once I had that, it was kind of the starting point to pursue these kind of other areas. And I just remember my girlfriend looking at it, she's like, oh, you're going to be one of these smoke guys, aren't you? I was like, look, man, it's a lifestyle, man. She's like, you smell like hickory. I was like, let me live, man. And literally, it's just like, I'm going to do a smoked grilled cheese. It's like, will you stop?
Yeah. But that's the thing, is that it's, you know, it's one of those things. It's a primal thing, I think, for a lot of people. You know, men and women alike.
Absolutely.
You get that smoke rolling, you get those proteins going, man, that smell, the whole thing. Oh my God.
And it's just a different thing. Like, for me, I'm kind of the more adventurous eater, the cowboy, as I like to describe it, within my circle of friends and within my family. So if I'm like, yeah, I do these, my specialty is a Japanese style smoked crab cake. And that's where I'm at these days, and just being kind of a little bit of a food snob, but also being a person that it's like, let me try different things and just work to perfect it. And now that's a request. It's like, look, I know that sounded really weird. It's atypical. There's no Ove in it. Yo, let me get that. I'm gonna need that.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing. And, you know, like barbecue is a great thing because it can instill confidence in you pretty quickly. You know, the failures are never that bad. No. Like they say, you know, there's, you know, the sex and pizza or you know, there's really no bad version, you know, of either, you know. So it's one of those things that barbecues like that, you know, even if you mess something up, there's something you can still do with it. You know, you roach a brisket, you know, like you cook it too long and it gets dried out. Sweet, chop that bitch up and put it in some beans.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whatever. I mean, you can do all kinds of shit like that. And I think that demystifies and gives people that may not have had the confidence to try new things, the confidence to, you know, at least get back in the game and, you know, try something else.
It makes me go out there and try like I will go to JBGB's and see different cuts of meat. It's like, let me try this out. Whereas if I may not have had that smoke, or to your point, had that confidence, I wouldn't have even ventured into, oh, let me get that pork belly and do something with that. Oh, I'll throw that in there too. And just kind of going through, oh, baseball steak? Hell yeah, let's get it. And learning about different cuts. So because, you know, food is the thing that's of interest to me, and having different conversations with chefs and so on, it's like, yeah, I need to get this chef's knife. Oh, where can I get this butcher block? And having informed conversations now. Yeah. So I read that some of the press you've gotten, like locally, has been really good. You were a City Paper finalist, RIP to the City Paper, and being nationally, if not internationally, recognized on Triple D. Speak on the importance of being supported for what you do, and how does support and encouragement look like for you?
So, I mean, I think that the type of person that is going out and deciding on a somewhat public life, you know, on a life where you're criticized, you know, I mean, not that people are out to, you know, like give you the business because, you know, they hate you or whatever, but just, you know, people are critical of what people in the food industry do. Yeah. So to me, like, the support is very important, you know, on a core level from family. Yeah. That's I mean, like, my wife, she's my number one. She's my ride or die. She's the best human being I know. And she supports me in ways that I didn't even know I needed. You know, she'll come out of the box with something and just be, you know, just lay a line on me about how, you know, she thinks that I can do something that maybe I think I can. Yeah. And then I'm like, damn, you're right. I am awesome. You know, it's that whole, like, you know, like smacking the door, like at Notre Dame, you know, as you're going out thing. Like, yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah.
But, you know, it's to me, support is like that. It's I guess it's like two levels. You know, you always want the support of the people that you care about the most. You know, your best friends, your children, your parents, your wife, husband. Mm-hmm. But then the other level of it for me is the people that show up every day when we open. You know, like that support is really really important, not only just for the obvious financial reasons, but any one person. Like I'm very fortunate in the fact that the people that I surround myself with are not afraid to tell me if they don't like something I'm doing. Things were not always that way with the people that I hung around. I hung around a lot of yes people, you know, and that doesn't do anybody any favors.
Right.
So I'm very fortunate that I've got that going on. So it's nice to have everything that they say reinforced by the results of people coming in or not coming in. You know, when people, you know, when I might mouth off online on a post or something and drop some F-bombs in an Instagram video, and, you know, I lose 500 followers because of it or whatever. Yeah. But, you know, they put it in perspective. They're just like, don't worry about it. They weren't, you know, you don't have to worry about those people anyway. Those likes don't mean anything. They're not. Social media isn't real. It doesn't matter. It doesn't magically translate to dollars. Yeah. You know, so having people in your corner to support your dream like that and to give you the real rundown on, you know, how they think you're doing is beyond valuable. And you can't buy it. Yeah. You know, it's one of those things that has to be given.
I talk about having, I guess, evangelists. Like, I don't care about having like this mythical number of I'm getting 100,000 downloads or anything along those lines. Those are usually not real. And it's reinforced by social media and all of that different stuff. But I think having people who are, you know, like 10, 15, 100 or whatever, like kind of ride or die people that are supporting you, whether it be buying merch, whether it be commenting on a post, whether it be sharing it with someone, those are the people that you look for, not this kind of like faux reinforcement that's there. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh yeah, you go, man. Or here's a like. It's like, I used to say, don't like my shit, share my shit. You know, like it's that.
Yeah. Get the message out, man. I know you like it or we wouldn't be friends. I mean, you know,
yeah, hell yeah.
You're already following me. Like, I'm going to take for granted that you pretty much like what I'm doing.
Right.
Put the message on the street.
So what are 3 to 4 or 2 to 3? Probably 2 to 3. Let's go 2 to 3. 2 to 3 traits someone should have if they want to be successful or as a pitmaster.
Well, that's tough, man, because I would say that universally, you should definitely be lazy. You should, and I don't mean that in the classical sense of lazy in the sense that someone doesn't want to do work, because if work in a pit is anything, it's a damn job. Mm-hmm. You know, it's no bullshit. Yeah. I mean lazy in the sense of, I guess, patient is a better word. You're okay and you're totally content with just waiting for something to happen. You know, you don't need a big, you know, bells and whistles going off the whole time and, you know, a million things going on. You can just wait and it'll be fine. Yeah. I think that's a huge thing. Patience and just being able to be one of those people that keeps notes. Yeah. Like I keep these little yellow pads all over the place. And I've almost always got one in my back pocket, and I got this old school thing. Yep, got this school thing called a pen. It ain't a stylus. It ain't it barely ever runs out of ink. But keeping notes on what you do in any type of cooking is so important, because it lets you know what you were doing, and then once you're done, you can judge what you did and make your adjustments from there on out. And you can make accurate adjustments. You can't be like, oh man, did I use 2 tablespoons of this or 2 teaspoons of this? I can't, you know. So you just notes. I mean, that's a big one. But yeah, just patience and being able to take some notes. Be good. That and being able to make a good espresso. That's a good one, because 4 a.m. sometimes comes around and you start hitting that low, you might want to fall asleep.
I'm a fan of it. I think I have 3 of those traits. I think I'm well on my way to go into the pitmaster situation. I need to pay my tuition to YouTube University, but checks in the mail. Checks in the mail. So when was the last time you've had someone else's barbecue aside your own And is there a chef or pitmaster that you really admire that you're like, you know, I like what they do. I think I can learn something from them, or I like watching them cook, or whatever that situation looks like for you?
I would say, let's see. There is one place that I like to go consistently. Like, I like to try new barbecue places. Like, if there's a barbecue place in town that opens up, I'll be, you know, one of the first people through the door. But there, like, my go-to consistently is Hill Country in Washington, D.C. It is really, honestly, it's a chain, which is sad, but it's a chain done right. There's not a lot of locations. They are, you know, a Central Texas style, like it's a market style. You walk up and you order by the pound and by the quart, pint, or whatever. And it is just consistently good. It's just really good. The atmosphere is great there. They have live music, the whole thing. And yeah, I really like those guys. They're great. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really have any one particular like person that that I look up to or really even admire for the way that they cook. I guess, I mean, I've got a level of respect for anybody that does barbecue just because I know how difficult it is. So like when people come out with, like, I use modern electric and gas smokers, which, you know, if I told people that in Central Texas, they'd have my head rolling down the street in about 2 seconds. But it's the reality of the marketplace. You have to have certain things automated, I think, to survive. But like when guys like George over at Heritage Smokehouse, when dudes like him are like, hey, we're going to get this enormous 1,000-gallon smoker from Primitive Pits that's a total stick feed, you know, it's old school as it gets. I mean, it is caveman shit. I mean, I have massive amounts of respect for that because I can't wrap my head around how it works.
Right.
You know, it makes no sense to me. But if they can make it work, man, they got my respect for the life.
It's one of those things that I throw around in conversation. It's like degree of difficulty. It's like, oh, so this is what you're choosing. Got it. Okay, I know it's going to be fire because you are putting in the work.
Exactly, and that's the thing, man. You know, people are just like, oh, what if somebody comes out with something better than yours? Fucking great,
fantastic. I'm in line.
If somebody doesn't want someone else to come out with something better, they're too lazy to be in the business. Like, I want somebody to come out with something better than mine because I want to try to have to go back to the kitchen and be like, oh, really? Well, let me show you something about it. You know? Oh, yeah.
This is the last question that I have before I get into my rapid fire questions. So the last question, do you have a signature dish or favorite dish that you enjoy like cooking?
Yeah, man, my mac and cheese. I love making it. Okay. I mean, it's just mac and cheese. It's nothing crazy, but it's only like with the noodles and everything, I think it's like 6 ingredients, and it is consistently like wins #1 at competitions. Like on the food truck, we would go through on a typical lunch pre-COVID. Yeah. We would go through between 40 and 60 pounds in 2 hours.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and those are half-pound servings.
You're selling tickets here. You're selling the ticket here for this mac and cheese.
Yeah, the mac and cheese is bomb. It is really good. I knew it was good when I would set up at Harbor Place down in McKeldin Plaza, and there were about a half a dozen older black ladies that would come down to me and order that shit by the quart. Yeah, and they'd be like, "I'm taking this home for the weekend. I got people coming over." I'm like, damn. Like, that's crazy. Like, don't, like, look, I won't tell them you got it for me. You know, like that. But it was like, you know, like I understand my place in barbecue. Like, I understand and respect the fact that it's a Afro-Latin tradition from the jump. And I know where it comes from, and I've done everything I can to learn everything about that part of the history. And I get it, man. Like, I know that I'm the big biker looking white boy, making the soul food and all that shit. But when the people that are, I think, culturally responsible for the food, kind of are like, they keep showing up and keep showing up. To me, it's a huge point of pride. Yeah. Like I always say, like, to other pit masters and stuff, I'm just like, all right, you might have the long line, but how many little old black ladies you got in your line? Because if you don't have at least 40, you ain't shit. Not to me.
It's like it's almost like getting those badges as a Boy Scout.
It is, well, it's like, look, I can make a line pop up wherever I want, man. Like, that's cool, because there's going to be 40, 50, like, 20, early 20-something hipsters standing in line with a Tecate in their hand, waiting for their, like 5 pounds of whatever meats they're going to buy and eat a pound and a half of because they're too skinny anyway. Like when you have even just older people coming out and waiting.
Because they know what the quality is.
Exactly. They ain't got time. They ain't got time to mess around with experimentation. They want the good shit now. They're going to die soon.
Do you have any jackfruit? Like, no. Jackfruit? Jack off. Get out of here.
Let me check the back of my hand.
All right. So now that we got that out of the way, it's time for the real stuff. Here's my rapid fire questions. And the way that these rapid fire questions work is, and emphasis on fire because barbecue. It's essentially, I said what I said. There's no additional context needed. Whatever your answer is, that's your answer. So an example might be, what's your favorite movie? If you want to go into an interesting story about it, cool. You want to add extra detail, cool, but not necessary. All right. First one I got. What is the most surprising barbecue dish you've eaten?
Honestly, barbecue jackfruit at Blue Pit.
Okay.
I was doing I was filming a pilot for Discovery Channel, and we went and interviewed David and his wife over at Blue Pit, and we did the jackfruit on a fucking gluten-free roll, I might add.
Oh,
come on, man. But I will tell you, I wish I could show you the reaction on my face when I ate that thing. Because I was just like, this is awesome. Yeah. Like, this is really, really good. But yeah, that was the most surprising thing that I had. I mean, it blew my mind.
I've had a bite of that before. When we go there, that's what my girl gets because she's a pescatarian. So it's just like, oh, they have jackfruit. Oh, she's like, this is like pulled pork. I was like, I had to try it. I was like, I was going to call Cap, and I was like, all right, moving on. Burnt ends or pulled pork?
Burnt ends.
I see on your menu. I think it was on your menu. PBJ pulled pork.
Yep.
Oddest food or drink you've smoked? Is that the oddest one? Like what is that oddest thing that comes to mind? Like this is off. This is just like out of left field.
The weirdest thing I've smoked, man. I mean, I was okay. So the strangest thing that I've done, I think, is I used to. When I first kind of got into this, I started smoking a lot of spices. Like I would get whole spices and smoke them and then grind them or whatever, and process them. Cool. Or use them whole if you needed to, whatever. And it was strange at the time because no one was doing that. Now this is like 7 or 8 years ago. And it was really funny because when I started doing that, McCormick Spices actually took notice, and they had me come out and do a demonstration for a thing that I didn't know what it was. It's an event called the Flavor Forecast, and they do it every year, and they select their flavor of the year. Yeah. And what it's going to be is it going to be umami, is spice, is it salt, sugar, whatever. That year it was smoke, and I did a presentation to 24 of some of the highest Michelin-rated chefs in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like people flown in from Japan, Sweden, Africa, everywhere. And I had no idea that that's what this was. They hired me to cater a lunch. And they were like, can you talk about this stuff too? And I was like, okay. Like the day before, I'm like, okay, I'll bring a bunch of this stuff. And all these chefs are like, can I get some of that spice? I'm going to try it in this dish that I make, And then I started looking some of these guys up, and I was like, holy shit, these guys are the beans. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Favorite wood to smoke?
Texas post oak, my favorite. That's my standby.
No trade secrets here, obviously. What is the base of a good spice rub?
I would say a really good quality chili powder. It's just a great base flavor to have. It's a little smoky anyway. It's not spicy. It's not in your face. It's just a nice base to start.
Okay. And this is the last one I have for you. This is one I just added in because, this is how I determine whether someone's going to be my friend or not. Because if the answer is wrong, and then it's just like, all right, this has been great, bye. But if the answer is right, it's like, all right, cool. Let's get deeper into this question. Cornbread or white bread?
Oh, man. So this is a difficult question because the answer is both. It's I would say for brisket, ribs, pulled pork, I would say white bread.
Okay.
It's just the way it's done.
It's opposite, yeah.
I would say for like any types of like chili or any types of like if you made like a burgoo or if you made any type of stew, any type of stuff like that, do cornbread all the way. I mean, I like a good cornbread, but I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to like the white bread thing.
That's legit. That's an acceptable answer. It is well articulated. I am a man that enjoys cornbread, so I jump to it if it's there. But yeah, I've seen the merits, especially with there have been instances where I've gotten like full like jerk chicken, and it's just like it has like 8 slices of white bread. I'm just like, all right, that goes with that. That's just there. So I get it. Yeah. All right. Yep. So that's pretty much all of the questions that I have, but I want to invite you to plug away, website, social media, all of that good stuff. Where can people check you out and get some of that good food?
We are we're the Smoking Swine across all social media platforms. We have a spot in Brooklyn down in South Baltimore called the Hanover. We're doing live music and beers and velvet paintings and really strong, really big tiki drinks, and just having a lot of fun there. It's kind of a catch-all for the misfits of Baltimore. We like to have weirdos, miscreants, and ne'er-do-wells stop by whenever possible. And one of the great things also is Diablo Donuts is there, right there with us. So, you have one building that has donuts, barbecue, and beer, mixed with live music. And, come on. You really can't do much better than that.
And friends of the network, friends of the podcast. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's definitely a place that I'll be returning to very, very soon. So I'm going to wrap up there. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure.
So for Drew Pumphrey, I am Rob Lee saying that there is food in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for it.